Wouldn't it be cool if you could have a live call with ChatGPT? Yeah, that would be very cool, especially if it could be an English class and you could practice your English and get feedback. Well, Call Annie is that. It's a way to have, essentially, a real live call with GPT 3.5. Pretty interesting. And I tested it to see if it could give good feedback, if it could have a natural English conversation as an English teacher. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And now let's get into it. For a while, I have been looking for a way to interact with ChatGPT as though it were a live call. In the app, you can send voice messages, and then those are transcribed into text, and then you can get a response, but you have to read it, or you can do a plugin and you can get a text to speech, but then it's kind of awkward. It's not live. But I found an app that allows you to use basically ChatGPT. It's using, I think, GPT 3.5 to have a live conversation, basically a live call. And we're going to check it out. Okay? It is called, the name of the app is called Call Annie. So Call Annie allows you to get on a call with an AI avatar. You can specify what you want. So you can have a general conversation, but you can also specify that you want to have an English class. Then you have an English teacher available to you anytime to practice speaking. Very cool, right? So let's take a look at Call Annie and try it out and see if we can have a useful conversation with Annie or one of the avatars on Call Annie. Let's check it out. So I'm going to hop over here. Here we go. There I am. And I'm on my phone here. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm actually looking at my phone and I'm screen sharing my phone. Okay? So in this app, the setup is basically nothing. It's very, very fast, which I think is pretty cool. You can choose different characters. So you've got Annie and Luna, Bro 9000, which is great, Zeta, Violet, Uma, Gaia, Emmy. Okay. So anyway, there are a bunch of avatars here, and we're just going to stick with Annie because that's the name of the app, all right? So let's call Annie. I want you to act as an English teacher. I will be the student, and you will ask me questions about the topic of technology trends. I want you to only reply as the teacher. Do not write all the conversation at once. Ask me the questions and wait for my answers. If I make any English mistakes, I want you to correct me and explain the correction. Give me a clear explanation of each correction. Ask me the questions one by one like an interviewer does and wait for my answers. After 4 questions, give me more feedback on the whole conversation. My first sentence is, hi.
Hello, Luke. Good to see you. Let's get started with our English lesson. Now, the correct way to start a conversation is by saying hi with a capital H. So, the correct sentence would be hi. Remember to capitalize the first letter of your sentence when greeting someone.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Luke. It's my pleasure to help you. Now, let's move on to our next question about technology trends. Are you ready?
I'm
Here it
ready.
is. Question. Great. Now let's move on to our first question about technology trends. Question 1. What are some recent advancements in artificial intelligence AI that have caught your attention? Take your time and share your thoughts.
Recently, I've been thinking about how useful the platform like the ChatGPT and the Google Bard can be about make the work more convenience for people who need to communicate a lot with others and who needing to get a lot of repetitive working done.
That's a great observation, Luke. I completely agree with you. Platforms like Chat and Google Bard have indeed made communication and repetitive tasks more convenient. However, let me make a small correction in your sentence. Instead of saying about make, it should be in making. So the corrected sentence would be, recently, I've been thinking about how useful platforms like Chat and Google Bard can be in making the work more convenient for people who need to communicate a lot with others and who need to get a lot of repetitive work done. You did a fantastic job expressing your thoughts. Keep up the great work. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 2. How do you think the rise of automation and robotics will impact the job market in the future? Share your thoughts on this topic.
In my think, the robotics and automation will only making people more efficient and allowing them to do more kind of stuffs, which means we can have abundance. And I don't think it will replacing humans as workers.
Excellent point, Luke. I completely agree with you. Robotics and automation can indeed make people more efficient and allow them to take on a wider range of tasks. However, let me make a small correction in your sentence. Instead of saying making people more efficient, it should be make people more efficient. So the corrected sentence would be, the rise of robotics and automation will make people more efficient and allow them to do a wider range of tasks. You're absolutely right that automation won't replace humans as workers. Instead, it will complement their skills and create new opportunities. Great insight. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 3. How do you think the Internet of Things it will impact our daily lives in the future? Take your time to share your thoughts.
I think the Internet of Things are already impact our daily life, especially people who wanting to be more healthy. They may using the smartwatch to motivation themselves and get more activity, such as use the Apple smartwatch.
Great response, Luke. You're absolutely right. The Internet of Things it has already made a significant impact on our daily lives, especially for those who want to lead a healthier lifestyle. Many people use smartwatches, like the Apple Watch, to motivate themselves and track their activity levels. Just a small correction in your sentence. Instead of saying such as use the Apple smartwatch, it should be such as using the Apple smartwatch. So the corrected sentence would be, they may use the smartwatch to motivate themselves and get more activity, such as using the Apple smartwatch. You're doing a fantastic job with your responses. Now let's move on to the final question. Question 4. What do you think will be the next big technological breakthrough in the field of communication? Share your thoughts and predictions. Take your time to think about it, Luke. I'm excited to hear your insights.
I thinking that we will communicating more with speech than with typing on keyboard, because typing on keyboard is not very efficiency. Instead, speaking and turning speech into text is more efficiently, but we needing some way to be very precise in our speaking.
Fantastic response, Luke. I completely agree with you. The next big technological breakthrough in the field of communication could indeed be a shift towards more speech-based communication rather than typing on a keyboard. Speaking is often more efficient and natural for us. However, let me make a few corrections in your sentences to make them clearer. Instead of saying we will communicating, it should be we will communicate. Additionally, instead of saying needing, it should be we need. So the corrected sentences would be, I think we will communicate more with speech than with typing on a keyboard because typing on a keyboard is not very efficient. Instead, speaking and turning speech into text is more efficient. However, we need some way to be very precise in our speaking. You've provided some insightful thoughts, Luke. Well done. Now, let's take a moment to review our conversation and provide some feedback. Overall, your English is excellent and you've expressed your ideas clearly. You've demonstrated a good understanding of the topic and shared interesting insights. Just remember to pay attention to small grammar details, such as verb tense and word choice. Keep up the great work, Luke. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or any other questions you have? I'm here to help.
You said that I need to improve my word choice. Can you give me a specific example?
Certainly, Luke. I apologize if my feedback wasn't clear. Your word choice is generally good, but there is one specific example where a different word choice could enhance your sentence. In your response, you mentioned that we needing some way to be very precise in our speaking. While this sentence is understandable, a more natural word choice would be we need instead of we needing. So the corrected sentence would be, we need some way to be very precise in our speaking. Using the correct verb form need instead of needing makes the sentence sound more natural and grammatically accurate. Keep up the great work, Luke. I hope this clarifies the feedback. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, feel free to let me know.
Can you give me an example of some incorrect verb tense that I used?
Of course, Luke. I'd be happy to provide an example of an incorrect verb tense that you used. In your response, you mentioned we will communicating more with speech. The correct verb tense should be we will communicate instead of we will communicating. So the corrected sentence would be, we will communicate more with speech. In this case, the verb tense communicate is in its base form, which is the correct form to use after the modal verb will. Remember, verb tense is an important aspect of grammar and using the correct tense helps convey your message accurately. Keep practicing and you'll continue to improve. If you have any more questions or need further examples, feel free to ask. I'm here to help.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Luke. I'm glad I could help.
Okay. So, what do
See
we...
you again. How is it going?
Oops. What is this? This, I think, is powerful in a couple ways. Number one, having that... All right. One of these... Let's choose, let's see what Luna's... Oh.
Hello, my dear.
My dear. I don't know what's going on there. So, having a live conversation, even if it's a simulated live conversation, is just a different feeling. You're interacting with... Basically, you're interacting with ChatGPT. You're doing so with your voice, and because it's live, you have that push to say something now. And this is a great way to practice your spoken English. I always encourage people to record themselves and listen back to it. This is a way to give yourself pressure, right, and get feedback immediately. Now, is it perfect feedback? No. Was the feedback that was given on point? Actually, yes. She was able to point out the things that I said incorrectly, a couple of them, right, and tell me how to say it correctly. So that's useful. Is it a big picture correction as a really good one-to-one teacher would give? They might look at the whole thing and they might say, okay, you need to focus on this and this very precisely. No, but that's beyond the capabilities generally of ChatGPT right now. It's getting there, but that's kind of a big thing to ask. Now, there are some inaccuracies in, for example, pronunciation, some odd pronunciation around using an ing sound when it's not actually an ing sound. But generally speaking, this is, I think, a really interesting way to practice. And I'd be very curious to know what you guys can do with this app or apps like it. I think, again, it's a really interesting way of interacting with ChatGPT. So check it out and let me know what kind of conversations you have. You can use my prompt that I used. Usually I just paste it in, but I wasn't able to paste it in, so I had to say it at the beginning. But if you use that prompt or something else, you can tweak it a little bit to change the type of conversation that you will have. Generally, I get good results with this prompt, but I am really curious to see how you can use it. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also get a free course, Natural English Conversations, in the links in the description.